Hello, I'm Mark Barker. Welcome to the Cheshire Best Kept Stations 2020 Annual Awards. Normally, around 140 volunteers, railway industry representatives and civic dignitaries would be gathering together at the superb Grange Theatre in Hertford for an inspirational and enjoyable evening. But of course, things aren't normal. So instead, I'm talking to you from Hadlow Road Station. This is a preserved gem of a station located on the Wirral Way between Booton and Neston. Owned by Cheshire West and Chester Council and cared for by the Friends of Hadlow Road Station, this is a picture-perfect image of what a country station in the 1950s would have looked like. That was when the last passenger train served this station. So because it's no longer operational, I can speak to you without having to wear one of these. Even picture-perfect stations can be affected by the weather, and I'm afraid we have some wind with us this morning, as is the case with another following contribution. But some things haven't changed. The work of station friends groups and community volunteers to make their stations welcoming gateways is brilliant. Of course, your work has been disrupted this year, but you've done what you can, particularly from midsummer when work at stations was able to resume. You've also kept in touch with each other and with your communities, and you've planned for the future. If the pandemic has shown us anything, it's that the community is so important in keeping us all together and helping one another, particularly the more vulnerable members. Many station friends groups are active in their communities, lending their energy and skills to other activities, as well as involving other people in their own projects. We were determined that your energy and in skills and enthusiasm should be rewarded, celebrated and honoured. But to do this, we've had to go virtual for our awards presentations. I hope you'll enjoy these presentations, even though you can't mingle with your colleagues with a glass of wine in your hands. Your work is so appreciated by the railway industry and the community rail movement. I'd now like to introduce Jules Townsend, Community Rail Network's Chief Executive, to say a few words.
Hi everyone, I'm Jules Townsend. I'm Chief Executive of the Community Rail Network, and greetings from a very wet and windy Bingley station. I'm sorry that we can't all be actually together tonight, but I wish you all the best of luck in the Cheshire Best Kept Stations Awards, and I'm sure that despite the circumstances, Mark and the team have done a fantastic job in putting on a virtual awards night, and I know from having been to these awards just how important this event is in your calendar and in Cheshire's calendar, and in recognising the huge amounts of hard work and passion and enthusiasm that all of you put into your stations year round. And we very much appreciate it at Community Rail Network the great importance of the work that you do, which we know is much more than brightening up stations. It's about bringing people together, it's about people's health and well-being, it's about social inclusion, community cohesion, and it's about bringing stations into the heart of their communities and creating a sense of familiarity and positivity and ownership towards the railway. And of course that's extremely important in promoting wider access to rail travel and promoting sustainability. So all of this is doubly important at the moment as we come through the great challenges that we're all facing at the moment through the pandemic, and as we seek to help our communities and our railways to recover and build back better. So I wish you all the best of luck, those of you who are up for awards tonight, and I hope that tonight is a really fitting celebration of all of the work that you're all doing year round. And I hope very much to be able to see you all face to face at some point and come and visit your wonderful stations at some point in the not too distant future. Bye for now.
Thank you, Jules. I'd now like to take a moment to pay tribute to Chris Dale, a key member of Cheshire Best Kept Stations. He passed away suddenly in June this year. As well as Secretary of Cheshire Best Kept Stations, he was Chair of Travel Watch North West and of the Crewe to Manchester Community Rail Partnership. He was a passionate supporter of passengers and the public transport networks that served them, and with his encyclopedic knowledge of railways and buses, he was able to do a lot of good. He will be sorely missed. Our awards this year are going to be somewhat different. Normally we have a team of judges that visit stations across Cheshire unannounced and make detailed inspections. Added to this, we invite nominations for certain categories that judges might not have picked up on during a visit. But that has not been possible this year, and even if those judges had been able to visit, with the lockdown affecting the spring and early summer growing seasons, stations would not have looked at their best. So instead, we've invited station groups to submit nominations of particular projects that they are proud of, that they've undertaken either in the last year or indeed at any time in the past. And we had plenty to choose from. Additionally, we looked back over our previous 17 years of awards to look for examples of consistently high standards and of excellence. So this year we will be making awards in one category, the 2020 Special Awards. We will not be announcing an overall winner this year because in this most difficult of years, well, we think you're all winners. In another innovation this year, we are awarding personal commendations for service to community rail. I'm delighted to announce that we are presenting these to David and Joy Houghton from Wrenbury Station for perseverance in looking after their station and trying to make improvements, to John Lee from Hale Station for renovating heritage station benches, not only for Hale but 2 other stations on the Mid-Cheshire line, and to Lisa McGee and Nikki Abnett from Avanti West Coast for their support of community rail at Stockport Station, especially the 2018 Community Rail Festival. Congratulations on your awards, and we will be in touch with you shortly to arrange for presentations to you in a suitably safe manner. Our 2020 Special Awards start with the following highly commended stations. Altrincham, for bringing together multiple operators and stakeholders to improve this large interchange. Crewe, for the creation of a specially designed room to help people with hidden disabilities in a calm and quiet environment, the Calm Corner. Delamere, for the Pettipool Petals project, in which students designed and produced painted wooden flowers and fixed them to a fence at the station. Hoylake, for enhancing a beautifully restored station with high quality planting and encouraging other groups on the Wirral line. Marple, for celebrating the connection between Agatha Christie and the town on the occasion of the 150th anniversary of the station and the 125th birthday of the author. And Nantwich, for high quality planting over the years by Nantwich in Bloom. And now for our main awards. Our first winner is Alsager. The station has been awarded Working to Become Dementia Friendly status to help make the town a dementia-friendly destination. The project included improved station signage, a dementia-friendly awareness training session for station adopters and other community members, and a dementia-friendly walking route from the station to the town centre will feature in a Rails to Trails collection of short walks from stations on the line produced by North Staffordshire Community Rail Partnership. Chelford. A small dedicated group of volunteers, supported by their parish council and the community, have transformed Chelford Station over 13 years. Consistently high standards of planting provide a kaleidoscope of colours on the platforms, station front and paths. A memorial bench to volunteer Tony Ike shows the lasting commitment of this group to the station. Ellesmere Port. This station has been transformed by the railway industry and local community working together. A restoration project led by Merseyrail has produced a thriving hub with artwork, colourful gardens, new waiting room and toilets, bike and go, bus services and a taxi office. The community is heavily involved and the building has been regularly used by the Royal British Legion, the Normandy Veterans and Friends of Ellesmere Port Station. Frodsham. Frodsham is a star performer in Cheshire Best Kept Stations with awards in the last 15 consecutive years, including overall winner on 3 occasions. The station shows a beautiful display of flower beds and a well cared for station building. There is much local pride in this station, and the town's mayor nominated Frodsham for an award last year to celebrate success in restoring passenger services on the Halton Curve to Runcorn and Liverpool. That brought the community together and was celebrated by Network Rail presenting 2 semaphore signals to the town. Goosetree. One of the last Victorian modular wooden ticket offices in the country had been neglected for many years. 7 years of patient negotiation led to Network Rail and the Railway Heritage Trust agreeing that the building was a significant part of our railway heritage and worthy of being saved. The Friends Group work to improve the station during this time gave them much credibility in these discussions. In 2019, Network Rail repaired or replaced the roof, wooden cladding, window frames, drain pipes and decorative canopy brackets. The station exterior was painted in original colours. Railway Heritage Trust contributed to the cost of the project. Greenbank. The station has been transformed into a World War I memorial dominated by a Lest We Forget mural. A garden of peace and reflection, with 18 crosses, remembers those lost in that conflict. Planters have been customised to resemble World War I ammunition boxes. Last September, Reverend Dimitri from Christchurch, which occupies the station building, blessed the garden in the presence of the Mayor, representatives from the armed services, British Legion and local churches. The group were helped by Mid-Cheshire Community Rail Partnership and Rail Users Association, Hertford Men in Sheds and Northwich Town and Hertford Parish Councils. Handforth. Friends of Handforth's achievement securing £2.7 million funding to provide lifts at the station rivals that of any professional organisation such as consultancies or even train operators. A new round of funding plus plans to build 2,500 homes locally spurred the group to provide Northern, Cheshire East Council and the Parish Council to fund a feasibility study. With that done, and with massive community support, the group compiled an 83-page application and submitted it with hours to spare. The climax of 20 years campaigning came when the Rail Minister visited Handforth to announce the success of their bid. Heaton Chapel. The Friends group transformed a scruffy 20-metre long pink wall by creating 16 separate artwork panels. Each has a different figure of a silhouetted businessman running for a train. 4 panels relate to each of the 4 separate Heaton communities, featuring local landmarks and notable people. Children from local schools were involved, with 4 of the panels containing artwork designed by them. The panels were then professionally printed before being mounted to the wall. Helsby. The gardens on this station would not be out of place in a park. They provide a welcoming area for passengers to wait. The station is always a pleasure to use and has benefited from considerable commitment by its volunteers. It has the distinction of winning a Cheshire Best Kept Station Award for 13 consecutive years, including that of overall winner on 3 occasions. Holmes Chapel. The Friends group's aim is to make the railway station a pleasing environment. They have engaged with the local community over the years, including with the parish council, library, the Cedars Care Home, Busy Bees Nursery, Brownies, local plant nurseries, and other businesses, all to the benefit of the station. They publish books for sale at the station reflecting local history, railways, and journeys possible from Holmes Chapel. Knutsford. A team from Knutsford in Bloom look after the beds and planters at the station. They were keen to improve the much used but drab station access from the main road. Funding was provided by Mid-Cheshire Community Rail Partnership to provide 4 wall-mounted mangers. These were filled with perennial and seasonal planting to give variety. They have been rewarded by the many passengers' enjoyment in seeing the flowers. Mells. The once loved but long since neglected borders have been restored to their former glory. Overgrown and untidy, the beds were in a sorry state until an army of green-fingered volunteers arrived thanks to the support of Merseyrail. Clearing out the beds was back-breaking work. They have saved the beautiful, well-established roses and now have a colourful welcoming space. Following completion of a lift installation project, 2 further beds were cleared and enhanced before the official lift opening ceremony. Plumley. Caring for Plumley Station's gardens proved challenging in 2018 due to the theft of all their newly planted shrubs. So now they only use plants which cost little or have been donated. Larger impact areas are planted as seeds. They've also made the garden low maintenance. Weed incursion has been tackled with weed control membrane and wood chip. All this has been successful and much encouraged to volunteers. Now the lovely gardens have been complemented by a new bench in the waiting shelter. The beautifully crafted bench is very much in keeping with a country station. Reddish South. With only 1, and more recently 2, trains a week, the campaign for a better train service has had to publicise that the station actually exists. This was done with a party and other events on the platform, heritage charter trains calling, and live folk music on that 1 train a week. All in addition to a hidden garden area on the platform and art competitions with local schools. The centenary of the end of World War I was marked by an art project by local cubs and beavers, who paraded to the station where the MP unveiled a plaque. Romilly. For an ambitious artwork scheme aimed to improve the station environment and involve local community groups and people of all ages. 11 windows had been boarded up and were a target for graffiti. Under the direction of a local artist,
the community painted local scenes agreed at public meetings. The youngest painter was 4 years old and the oldest in their 90s. The paintings were digitally photographed, professionally printed and fixed to the windows. They were unveiled in December 2018 by Lord Stunnell of Hazel Grove, and a booklet of the story was distributed. Rose Hill. The 150th anniversary of the station and the former line to Macclesfield was marked by a week of events in July 2019, including an exhibition of old photographs at Marple Library, a blue plaque unveiled at Rose Hill Station by the Mayor of Stockport, and more plaques unveiled at the other station sites on the old line. Over 70 people joined the ceremony at the station, which also saw the unveiling of a refurbished heritage bench and school pupils' artwork. A local rail historian signed copies of his latest book, a poem was read, and the driver of the last train on the line spoke. The following weekend, cycle rides and guided walks took place down the Middlewood Way. Winsford. All Winsford's primary schools worked with Crosshatch Community Gallery and Makerspace to produce 5 art panels. Each school agreed to take a station on the Liverpool to London route, have their pupils research, and then produce artwork, which would be in the form of an individual train carriage. One school took the opportunity to visit Liverpool by train, courtesy of London North Western, to visit landmarks and make drawings.
Our final award goes to here, Hadlow Road Station. We normally only present awards to stations that passengers use, but we were so impressed with the atmosphere here at Hadlow Road and the quality of the preservation, we thought it richly deserved an award. I'm joined by Chris Hampshire from Friends of Hadlow Road Station. Congratulations, Chris, to you and all your team for the hard work they've done here.
Thank you. I'm delighted to accept this award on behalf of all the volunteers at Hadlow Road Station.
That concludes our awards announcements. Congratulations to you all. What happens next? Firstly, we are publicising these awards announcements. We will shortly be in touch with all the winners to arrange presentations, which of course need to be in a COVID secure manner and will hopefully be at your local station. So we will be in touch with train operators about this. These local presentations will give opportunities for further publicity for your awards, and we will be arranging future YouTube films showing the local presentations, probably in the new year. I would now like to introduce Her Majesty's Lord Lieutenant of Cheshire, David Briggs, to say some closing remarks.
Ladies and gentlemen, a very good evening to all of you. I am always really delighted to attend the Cheshire Best Kept Stations Award for 2 reasons. Firstly, of course, to say thank you to all of you who keep our Cheshire stations looking so great. But secondly, because this is the only night of the year when Cheshire returns to its ancient boundaries. So as well as welcoming those of you from Cheshire West and Chester, from Cheshire East, from Halton and from Warrington, I am delighted this evening to welcome you, those of you from Stockport, from Tameside, from Trafford and from the Wirral. Welcome back to your old Cheshire roots. This year has, of course, been particularly challenging for all of us, but in particular for the travel and transport industries. And so I think it is particularly commendable this year that each of you, despite those challenges, have continued to keep your favourite station spick and span, and despite the very unfortunate reduction of passengers at every station. As Her Majesty's representative, I can do no better than to quote from her speech at the beginning of the first lockdown, when she said this: "We should take comfort that while we may have more still to endure, better days will return. We will be with our friends again. We will be with our families again. We will meet again." What you are each doing is to make sure that our stations are fit for purpose and pleasing places to visit once the virus is behind us, and we can all again then enjoy our wonderful county to the full. You are each investing in our future, and as Her Majesty's representative, I salute each of you. Tonight, if my calculation is right, is the 18th awards night of the Cheshire Best Kept Station Awards, and we're still the only county in the country that has these awards. I want firstly to thank John Hume for inventing the whole idea, and to thank and to congratulate him for organising this year the truly outstanding posters of Cheshire wildlife at stations on the Cheshire Line and at Tatton Park. Who would have thought that mounting posters on upended railway sleepers and planting them all over a National Trust garden would ever firstly be allowed to happen, and secondly, that it actually improves the whole visitor experience. And of course, these wonderful posters do so much to brighten up all our stations. And John managed to get 5 pages for free in Cheshire Life. So John, very well done. Your enthusiasm and your creativity is truly outstanding. Next, my sincere thanks to Mark for again chairing this event and for keeping the whole thing going once John decided to step down. And thank you to each of your team for all each person does throughout the year to enable this event to happen. It doesn't happen, of course, without an enormous amount of work. So I know I speak on behalf of everyone here this evening when I say a very sincere thank you to each of you. This year, uniquely, no financial support has been asked for from the railway industry. And so I particularly want to thank each of the 4 organisations which have given financial support to enable this event to happen this year. So, thank you to Community Rail Network, who some of you may know by their former name, the Association of Community Rail Partnerships. Thank you to Mid-Cheshire Community Rail Partnership, to North Cheshire Community Rail Partnership, and to the Crewe to Manchester Community Rail Partnership. I also want on your behalf to thank Steve Ford, the Community Rail Officer for the Crewe to Manchester Partnership, who made this video and really made tonight's presentation possible. Steve, a huge thank you for all you've done to make tonight run so smoothly. And thank you to each of you who volunteers to keep our stations looking so great. Those of you who came to the 2019 presentation, which this year was held in January this year, may remember my story of comparing professionals and volunteers. And you all know that in my view, volunteers are truly heroes. You'll remember, of course, that Noah's Ark was built by volunteers and the Titanic was built by professionals. So a huge thank you to all of you who volunteer to keep our stations looking so outstanding. Our country would be a very different place were it not for the goodwill of thousands of volunteers, and you are each members of that truly wonderful team. And never have you been as important as you are this year. This is a time when links into our communities, which station adoption groups and community rail partnerships in general are of the utmost importance. Please don't get downhearted. Continue the vital work which each of you do. And finally, my congratulations to each of tonight's winners. You should be especially proud of your achievement. Thank you all very much.
Thank you to David Briggs and again to Jules Townsend for their contributions to these awards presentations. We do hope that next year will be more like normal, that you'll be able to return to your projects, that we'll be able to visit you at your stations to see what you've been doing, and that in a year or so's time we'll be able to gather together again for an awards presentation evening. Finally, thank you for watching this evening. Please keep in touch. We look forward to hearing more about your work in 2021.